Hey guys, before we get into today's episode, I just want to give a quick heads up. This conversation includes some heavy and sensitive topics, things like mental health, trauma, and other experiences that might be triggering for some people. If that's you, please take care of yourself. Reach out to someone you trust or contact a local support service. These conversations are real and raw, but they're shared to bring hope, healing, and understanding. Well, guys, this week, our next guest, Josh from Better Half Journal. I met up with Josh a couple of weeks ago, and he's on this journey of creating something really special for people. And I love his heart posture for what you're doing, and I think it's such an incredible tool for people to use, but something that I could be better at. But I know the power of it, mate, and I'm really grateful for you coming on this week and sharing your story and sharing the reasons behind what you're doing, and the heart of just helping others, mate, is what stands out for me. So welcome to Rise Above.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. When I actually met you not 2 weeks ago, I think it was the second or third time we met, but we've got a mutual friend, had a couple of brief little hellos.
Yeah.
But after sitting with you and having a good yarn, I think that hour went by real quick. But I was just like, this is the type of person I want to surround myself with, someone with a story, someone super relatable. And like, you're a bit of an alpha male, someone that you don't expect to be exactly how they might appear. But they have purpose and reason. And so I was keen as to get on here and share more.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. And I think that's it, like being relatable and being around people that fill you up just as much, mate. I think it's really important, because it's like hanging around, people that don't hold your values and aren't, similar and relatable. It's just kind of like, what are you doing? You want to be around people that, fill you up and are like-minded. And I think too, mate, we lead completely different lives, but we've got a passion and a purpose to help other people.
Yeah.
I think if we all had that heart posture, and we could do that in many different ways, I believe we all can play a part to help this world we live in. And I do my part, and it doesn't mean the next person has to do exactly what I do, but if they can find a way to help, and that's not always being out there and being the hands and feet. And it's like what makes this podcast possible, mate. I'm really fortunate, and give a shout out to the people that sponsor this podcast, because without the sponsor jumping on board, this doesn't happen. And I've been open and honest about my financial position, and this is the only way this became a reality, with people that could see that they mightn't be able to add too much and do what I do, but they could add value and finances to be able to make this a reality. So I'm really grateful for Joe and the team at Active to continually, sponsor the podcast, but also weekly, sponsors that have jumped on board with Sophia Interiors, Sean, Tommy, and the team at Borderline Plumbing has been really, really grateful for what they want to do and their heart to want to help other people. And we can all play a part. And on the back of that, mate, you've jumped on as a sponsor for the next handful of episodes, which I'm really appreciative of, mate. And
it was a no-brainer for me after we met. I was like, here's someone who is doing God's work, and he's literally reaching out to people who are probably going to keep their issues close to their chest and not speak up about it. You run the men's group. I think there's people need more strong men to help other men who are being strong, but are being quiet. Yeah.
I think too, one of the things you said about me as well, without talking about myself, I think one of the key things that I find that's an attribute to me is the way I look. And then when people get to know me, it's just like it cuts out that perception of just like, oh, you got to be this tough, strong looking man, and this is what it is. But when I be vulnerable and share my feelings and emotions, and at times, mate, cry in front of room full of people, it doesn't bother me. But it gives other people the opportunity straight away to go, hang on a minute, if this big bloke can do that, why can't I?
Yeah.
And I think it's great, because it's like we can be quick to judge. We're all guilty of that, and then when you actually understand a person and actually know oh crap, maybe they've walked through something here.
Yep.
Maybe the reason they are the way they are is because of stuff we don't know.
Yep.
And I think it's we could be quick to judge people, but I think once you have that compassion and empathy in your heart to kind of go, hang on a minute, maybe there's something a lot deeper than that.
Mhm.
That's not easy either.
No.
Because we can be quick. The time we slow down and go, everyone has a story, everyone's walked a journey, and just like yourself, mate, it's just important that people hear these stories because you don't know who's out there that could relate to your story, and where you've walked. And like I said, it doesn't have to be the same, but there could be relatable things that you share today that someone listens to go, wow, I felt like that as well. And that's all about the connection part of it, mate. Like I find that the more that we can have these conversations, the more relatable we can be. But it could be just a minute of an hour podcast that someone grabs. I'm like, well, we've done our job.
Yep.
And again, I've said it many times, this is not a popularity contest. I'm not here to be the biggest podcast you'll ever see. I just want people to understand that if I can help one person, I've done my job. That'll always be my mindset, because if we can build on that, more and more people, we're helping, and that's, and I know that's where your heart posture is with it, mate.
100%.
And that's, again, big reason I want you on, but we'll get to what you're doing soon. But I want to walk yourself back, as a kid growing up. We see how the world is right now and why I'm doing what I'm doing. As a young kid, was it something in your home that you felt like you were loved and you could share how you were feeling, or, what was life like for you as a child?
Mate, I had a fantastic upbringing. I have two loving parents. I have great relationships with my two sisters. Went to a good school, surrounded by great mates. And I think this is what is probably interesting about my story is I've actually got my friends had confided in me and said like how lucky I am to have such relationships with my family that I do. I got a great support system. And then even now with my wife, my kids, her family, like I feel like I'm surrounded by supportive people. That naturally led me into, I think I always was coined with this ability to have good conversation with people. And a lot of people in my friendship circles or whatever used to come to me with their problems and would leave feeling better. And I thought that was a skill set that I had. And I think I naturally gravitated towards becoming, I started psychology and I really liked it, but I didn't realize how much mathematics was in psych. There's heaps of statistics. And that was taking away, trying to get through that was taking away from the enjoyment of the subjects I actually enjoyed. So I veered to becoming a social worker. So same kind of interpersonal skill stuff, but no maths. So fast forward through that, I ended up becoming a social worker at child safety at Mermaid Beach. And I was there for 5 years, and I was part of a handful of different processes, whether it was trying to reunify families together, working with parents on their caseload to they have to achieve X, Y, Z, whether it's drug rehab, abstaining from alcohol, finding accommodation, retaining a job, whatever's on their caseload, in order to get their children back, and they'd normally be like a time frame to try and do that. But the most hectic part of that job was when I was part of the investigation and assessment team. So they were the ones getting the notifications of physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect. And sometimes they'd have different categories: a 24-hour notification, 5-day, 10-day. And those 24-hour ones are the ones you got to go out and cite that kid. You can't go home until you have seen that child, make sure they're safe. And man, was that an eye-opening experience for me. It was like, buckle up. This is your career. This is what you've chosen. And people had warned me. They're like, there's a big turnover in that role. You'll probably only last 2 years. And I was like, I'm good. I'm really good at this. This is what I was born to do, kind of thing. But they weren't wrong. My very first case, the kid died over the weekend, and I wasn't able to get into the house to view him because the father threatened me, said he would break my legs if I came in. And I tried to get police to come out with me, and they couldn't. So they said, "We'll go out Monday with you, mate." And when I got back to work, the manager called me in and said, "The little boy's died over the weekend." And mate, this is why I was like, "Oh my word! Like, how's this stuff happening in my backyard?" I didn't know it was that bad. I remember getting my first like 10 cases, reading them, and I'm like, "I got to get out there now. I got to help." And the people on my team were like, "Relax, like you haven't seen anything yet. Like you can't build Rome in a day." Um, in a way, working there for 5 years, I don't want to say made me numb, but you kind of get desensitized to that. And I was like already kind of becoming a version of me I didn't, like a less empathetic person, because it's just like my normal became these terrible things. But I think that's like a coping mechanism that you're like, I got to numb this out, because I took that stuff home every day. It would really, really impact me. So you just like learn to shut it off. Fast forward, I end up, burning out there, and my wife starts this business, a wedding dress business, and it goes bonkers. She's like drowning. She's doing 60, 70-hour work weeks by herself. So I come on 3 days a week, and I'm doing 2 days as a support officer with child safety, and I'm just helping her where I can. But my 3 days turn into 5 days as well, and we just both drowning in work. But like, amazing problem to have. And then that became my life for 12 years. We're a massive business on the go. We're global. We're in 150 stores. I'm super grateful for that time, but I've now relinquished a lot of my responsibility to like more professional people who could do the job better than me. And I'm trying to get back into my roots and started this passion project, Better Half Journals.
Yeah, nice, mate. There's a bit there.
Yeah.
But going back to that stuff you talked about, being desensitized to stuff. Obviously, as a fiery, I understand that side of things. You know, when you're exposed to traumatic experiences, my stuff's probably different level that yours was. But when you're empathetic and you've got a heart for people, and you see people going through that stuff, or like I've been to many suicides and different things, it's important then you don't bring it home, but you're talking it out. And we've got great support at work. We've got free psychology for the rest of our life, so we've got no excuse not to go and see someone. But not just talking amongst your crew, but coming home, to not bring it home, but to still share that you are struggling, or and that's not bringing it home. That's acknowledging your feelings and your emotions. And I think with your wife, that's something that's important, and that goes for everything. You could have a rough day, and it's still the same mindset as coming home and let's talk it through. You're not putting that weight on her shoulders.
Yeah.
And if you asked her, she wants you to come. If she knew you're keeping stuff that you didn't want to give her, she would actually turn around and go, "No, Josh, I want you to actually tell me that." But you don't want to put that trauma on people. I get that, but if I find, and that's why they're so big at the fire service with it, it's like, if you keep suppressing everything, your cup's going to be so full. And like, you retire at 65. If you get to 65 and you haven't been able to have the ability to be open and share and stuff, like, you see people who get unstuck with that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, mate, too. Like, you don't sound like you're a caring, loving person when you say you want to shut off. Like, but you kind of have to sometimes. And you can't be too attached. And that's another thing with us. It's like, you can't attach yourself to what's going on, because you don't know who they are. You can't actually do anything anymore from what's happened. You've got a family at home. You've got people to look after. You need to be right. But if you're not right, it's okay to go and get the support and help. Because I know for myself, from instances and knowing other people who are open about it, just with jobs we've had, it's not sometimes there and then that's impacting you. When you've come home after, something like you just shared then, like, it could impact you straight away, but it might actually trigger you in 3 months' time, through something else. And then you're like, why am I feeling this way? And when you can join the dots, and like, maybe because there's that unresolved stuff that I never really worked through. So, I think it's mindful people understand you're not shutting it off because you don't care. you're shutting it off because it's an ability for you to work through that and not be too attached. Because, mate, we carry enough, especially as men, we carry enough on our shoulders to be carrying other people's stuff as well. But it all comes back to the same thing: is being open, share your emotions, and work through those things.
Yeah.
We can never step away from that.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, I was carrying multiple cases like that, like hard ones. You know, I had situations talking young boys off cliffs as well, like that just didn't want to go home for whatever reason. Um, yeah, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on my stories, but I remember once they brought in this person and they basically announced to the office, such and such who's going to be sitting in this office all day. Anyone who wants to go have a chat with him, if you want to get something off your chest, feel free. And one of my colleagues knew like I was carrying a bit of this stuff, and they're like, I reckon you should go talk to them. I was like, oh no, I'll be right. They're like, no, go, see how you go. And I did, and I was there for an hour, and I was a mess. I was bawling my eyes out. Well, the managers just an open ear, non-judgmental, like just there to listen. And I just unloaded on this person, and I felt like really good after that. And I've always been a real advocate of talking things through. Like, I'm the first person in my family to be like, hey, like talk, what's up, you know, or maybe go see someone. And this is also why I think the journaling for me has been super powerful, because, to be honest with you, I've gained a lot from one-on-one conversation with professionals, but I have gained more from having deeper conversation with myself and putting it on paper and reflecting and saying, like, you can work out like what are your energy takers and what are your energy makers? Why am I thinking like this? Okay, let's like extrapolate, let's break it down. And you can go just as deep with yourself as you can with someone else. Maybe they'll ask you some thought-provoking questions, but you're the one who, unless you're completely honest with them, they might not get to the core. And when you're doing it one-on-one, you get down to the core issue better, in my opinion. Yeah.
That's cool though, you know, and I think a lot of that comes back to the honesty part of it. Because, mate, we can go to a psychologist and tell them what we think, but don't give him exactly how it's happening.
Yeah.
So they can only judge the situation based on the information you give them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're completely honest, sometimes that reveals things in us we don't want to hear.
Yeah.
You know, so you go, oh, I'm not going to tell them that because it paints me in a bad light.
Yeah.
You know, I've been guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Like, in that, one size doesn't fit all. Like, I've got to say that psychology worked for me and it'll work for many people, but it's how you look at it. But if you're avoiding the work and going to a psychologist and then going, oh, it didn't work for me, and then you're not doing anything else, well, you're not gonna get anywhere. But when you can have the ability to actually be self-aware, be honest with yourself, and actually put practical applications in your life to go, hang on a minute, I need to be better, and I'm gonna put in the work. Mate, there's still success at the end of that.
Yeah.
You know, because you're willing to do the work. It all comes back to the willingness to want to do the work, because the work's messy. You know, there's no two ways about that. Whether you write it down on a bit of paper or you walk it through, you talk it through, you've still got to do it if you want to be better than where you are today.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people avoid it, or just think time will pass, or I'll do this for a little bit, then that should be, you know, enough. But I've always said it's a daily action for me. I need to do so many things in my day. Sometimes they're just now so built in me. They're just good habits that just happen. I don't have to think about them, because I know if I don't do them, I'm going to be that person I never used to like.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me is important, but it's not putting psychology aside, because it does work. And the biggest thing for me too with a lot of that is we can be self-aware of what's going on in our life to a certain extent, but like you said, they've just got the ability sometimes to provoke things in you that you didn't even understand yourself.
Yeah.
And I had things revealed to me that I was like, wow, I didn't even understand that, but it's clear as day now, you know, and that sometimes gives you ability to then go away and do the work, because it's not go and see the psych and then play on and just go back to doing normal, it's like homework. It's like going away from that. Okay, how can I be better? And practically, how do I do this every day?
Yeah.
But
you keep touching on like saying good habits and something you do every day. And I'm like a massive believer in consistency. And I gravitated towards training physically very early on. I bought like my home gym in my parents' garage when I was 16. I mean, I'm not as jacked as you are, but I pretty much haven't missed training. Like you get to the end of the year and there's probably like 10 days of the year which I haven't done some sort of physical activity. And I'm a much better human when I do that. If I miss, it actually hurts me more when I miss it. And so I've always been a big believer in physical activity for the mind. But then if you start training your mind on top of that, you're unstoppable. Yeah.
Yeah, and mate, I'm exactly the same. Rest days are hard.
They're hard, hey? They're hard.
And it's because of the mental side of it. It's not because I've got body dysmorphia and I'm like, I feel small today, so I need to get to the gym. It's just the habit of going, feeling good, and afterwards feeling even better. And I'm like, I want that feeling every morning.
Yeah. I had to change my rest day to an active recovery day. I had to do something, whether it's a walk to the beach and swim. It had a sauna, contrast therapy. It had to be something.
Yeah. That's still all right.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
I'd rather that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the connection between, I got this story of when I was at uni and I needed some credit points to pass my subject. And I was looking at the board because I was running late and I was like, I wasn't going to get enough credit points, but there was like 100 credit points for we need non-smokers, 1 hour. I'm like, you beauty, that's me. So I go in and it's a nicotine tablet study. They say that's why we need non-smokers. We're going to give you a nicotine tablet and see if you experience any of the side effects, which are nausea, spinning, like dizziness, drowsiness, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, good. Pop this pill, start watching Friends actually. And 10 minutes into the episode, I'm like, I'm feeling so shitty. I'm like, oh, excuse me, have you got a bucket? Have you got a bucket? She's like, yeah, Josh, it's fine. Just letting you know, you've just had a sugar tablet. You're part of a placebo study. And I was so embarrassed, but all those feelings just went away. And I should have known then how powerful the mind was. Instead of being an 18-year-old, I walked away just there feeling embarrassed and foolish, right? But I'm like, how strong is the mind that it just made it? What good is like being a physical specimen if your brain can shut it all down just like that? Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, you're right. And goes back to, the physical side of it, but I think the mental side of it again, because you think of everything we're faced. I know my own journey and daily what I need to be, and I think the way I look at things is so different now. My gratitude around my life and what I have, and the old me would have been so caught up in the materialistic things where it's just like I define my success on how much money I earn, how big my house is, all these things. And when that all got taken away, all through my own actions, I had to be to a point where I was like, wow, mate, you've got nothing, so who are you when everything's taken away? And it's a deep, thing to ask yourself, but I felt like an empty person because I put all my value and worth in what I had around me, not, who I was as a person.
Yeah.
And now through obviously my walk with, Jesus and, finding Christ and, being remarried and just looking at things different, mate, I'd love for things to be different, and financially, be great. But we can be so easy to like miss what's in front of us all the time and be so grateful for what we actually have.
Yeah.
Because the bigger home and the nicer car, all these things, they're like a drug. They'll fill us up for a little bit.
Yeah.
But you come back to it. Who are you when everything's taken away? Like, when you don't have all those things. But I feel like, when someone says, oh, what are you grateful for? Sometimes we're guilty of looking for the things that we have that are materialistic, not who's in front of us. And I look at my wife, my kids, like all these things, like even down to like being able to drink water and eat food.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, there's people in this world don't get that opportunity, but we take it for granted sometimes because of the position we are in life. But I think the big thing for me is looking at things different. I can be down to my last dollar, mate, and be back in the day, I would never let myself get to that because I'd be stressed and not have any faith and trust that something's going to, work for me. Something, and now I put all my faith and trust in God to know that he'll always provide for me.
Yeah.
So I have that faith to go that no one knows my bank account, but I can look at it and go, well, hang on a minute, that's not where it needs to be, but God's faithful. So he'll provide for me. And some people don't understand that, but for me, it's made me look at life so differently. But then for other people looking at me, because if I don't tell people and walk around with a shirt saying I'm a Christian, how do I walk that every day? And for a lot of people at work, it probably see me more than my own family to be like, well, Westo, he's always upbeat or he's this and that. I know what he's going through, but why is he still happy? Why is he still seeing a positive side of things? It's because of, I'm grateful for what I have, and I've got a faith to know that things will work out the way it's meant to. And maybe this is a season I need to go through that's going to help, lift me into the next stage of my life. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
I can look at it that way, or I can look at it and like, oh, poor me, I don't get to do this, or I don't have enough money to do that. Well, that's fine. I've got what I need, and that's a faithful God that will always provide.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate,
you've actually kind of leading me out to a segue. So I was hoping, I wrote something in my journal today. Every 7 pages, there's a brain dump space, and it just serendipitously was there today. And I was on my run this morning, and I heard this. I like to listen to speeches when I'm running, and it was Denzel Washington who was actually saying that. He said something like, every night put your slippers really far under your bed, so in the morning you have to get on your knees and be grateful for what you've got. And that started me thinking about the relation between religion and the Better Half Journal, or the process that I'm going through. So do you mind if I read this?
Go for it, mate.
Something clicked for me this morning on my run. When I was at my lowest, my mind wasn't neutral. It was loud, critical, sometimes cruel. If I didn't interrupt those thoughts, they would spiral and start invading my house. That's why I started journaling, to get them out of my head and onto paper, to confront them, to question them, to stop them living rent-free in my head. Well, things have changed. Rent is due now, bitches. Then I made a connection. Faith has been teaching this for centuries. Gratitude is thanksgiving. Reflection is confession. Discipline is devotion, and service is being accountable and not wasting my blessings. I was never trying to be spiritual. This entire time, I was just trying to become a better human, become a better half. But the parallels are hard to ignore. Maybe I didn't discover something new. Maybe I just rediscovered something ancient.
It's beautiful, bro.
So like, that's the brain dump page. That's something that I say at the start. There's no agenda there. You can use it for to-do lists. You can work through some chaos or something that's just it's literally that, a brain dump, something that's in your brain. And someday, like today's a good day. I've got nothing really to dump, so I'll try doing an activity. Like I did another one where I like wrote a letter to myself, like an 80-year-old self, and I found that was a really good exercise as well, because that helped me put it in perspective. What, like, the life I'm leading now is purposeful, and that 80-year-old me look back at and be happy with how I was using my time and what I was valuing and what I was worried about. Like, so yeah, man, I find that stuff super powerful. It's like, yeah,
that's awesome, mate. I want to go back because obviously we've starting to touch on the journal now, but doing the social work and doing all that kind of stuff, obviously leading to your wife's business, which is incredible. Obviously, you're very successful, like you said, worldwide. Is there a part that birthed this idea was a lack of purpose?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, because naturally, in a biblical way, as men, we're the provider, we're the head of the home, we're entrusted to be that person. Now, I don't want to get the words mixed here, because that doesn't mean financial. Like God doesn't say you need to be the breadwinner. It doesn't say that anywhere. The head of the home is a spiritual head of the home. And I find often in a lot of men, if my wife earns more than me, I feel like my ego's dented.
Mhm.
Um, and Adam Free, who I had on the podcast a few weeks ago, his wife's the breadwinner, but he's confidently in his own skin. I'm the head of the home.
Mhm.
He's got no issues with her earning more money than him,
Mhm.
but they're married. They
Yeah.
earn it together. It's their
Yeah.
money. But I know that if you don't have that thing in your life that um, is a purpose, or you feel like you're putting a lot of energy and time into for something that can fill you up,
Yeah.
you can kind of feel a bit lost.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for the things I get to do in my life because everything is purpose led. Everything I get to do, and I look back on my life now, it's like everything's got a purpose to where God's positioned me in my life. So I could understand, knowing enough about you to go, hang on a minute, like, what about me? Like,
Mm.
I'm supportive husband and father for what my wife's doing. But what I want to do?
Mate,
Like,
I can't remember exactly what you just said, but the ego taking a dent. That that was me too. I've always battled with the whole, uh, the breadwinner stereotype for a guy.
mm,
I shouldn't say always, 'cause it's not really a thing anymore, right? But definitely earlier on, it did. When the excitement of everything stopped, and unfortunately, you have a lot of banter between friends. They'll be quick to let you know, like, mate, you're working for your missus, or you've only got that because your missus started a business, and like stuff like that.
mm,
Which I mean, it's banter at the end of the day, but you start like saying it enough, maybe someone starts believing it. And I gave myself a lot of credit for what's done. I think the people who worked within the business and saw the work I put in, and I was there every day working. And not only do you work at work, it's you're a partnership, right? We deal with all the drama at home,
mm,
all the issues, all the stuff that no one knows inside the business that happens to business. Like we discuss that inside our house. That impacts us. That impacts our children. You got to pretend like everything's hunky dory when they're like, "What's wrong? Like, why are you guys chatting now?" Or, there's been like anyone who's been in my position knows what I'm talking about. There will be people out there and listeners that probably might not understand, but if you're a good partner, uh, which I know I am, um, you just you do what you got to do. But I definitely battled with that for a long period of time. I'd say like there was probably a 2-year patch that I was like really struggling, and that was when I was slowly offloading my responsibilities. So the goal was to wean back because wedding dresses isn't my passion. Growing the business and the team became my passion, and I was always like there for like team motivations, activities, making sure their contracts are right, they're being paid correctly. I I was often the person. I was almost HR for the first 8 years of our business too. HR, accounting, um, did the legal, like any of that red tape stuff was me. My wife's the creative. She's designing the wedding dresses. She's on the magazine. She's doing the press releases, all that stuff. Right. So she was very front and center, which is fine. She deserved that. But I was in the shadows. And I was really, when I would get no credit for it, that really knocked me for six. And it wasn't good for my internal chatter, especially when I started offloading those my responsibilities. And then I felt not as busy in my day to day. I started feeling worthless, and I started believing that I was worthless. And that's when I was working with, we've got a mentor that we see every 2 weeks. He works with us on business and personal life. And he pushed me to start journaling once a week, just as a way to like navigate through what I want to do in the future. Let's start planning, because a big part of me knew what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. I already established that I did want to exit. Um, I still be part of it, but not there as a day to day,
mm,
because like, truth be told, I wasn't that busy there anymore. Unless we had like a new store opening or whatever, I was getting involved with builders and finding spots and this and that. Like I wasn't, and like I still executed all our payments, but the day to day wasn't as busy anymore. So we're trying to forward plan what I'm going to do. And he's like, how about you go every Friday, take an hour of your time and just write? I was like, oh, nah. He's like, come on, give it a go. He goes, I do it. like, do you respect me? I'm like, yeah, I really respect you. He's like, I do it every Friday. So he calls it his clarity break. So I remember starting, well, the hour went so quick and I'd written like 8 or 9 pages. So I was like, you don't use a pen anymore either. So it's kind of this lost art form. And, but I felt like $1,000,000 afterwards. I felt so good. But then I was going to say this earlier when you were talking about like consistency with your studies and all that, that I found myself only doing it when something bad was happening or when I felt like too much was going on inside my brain. I wasn't processing well. I'm like, hang on, what? This is like someone who says they're religious, but they only pray when they want something. It's like, you need to be consistent. So I'm just going to do this, not for an hour every day. I'm just going to do it for 10 minutes every day. And that turned into 2 minutes every day. And before you know it, I was a different human. And excuse me, my wife acknowledged that too. She used to say that I had like a resting bitch face for a guy, but she called it a poison face. And I used to be like, I still haven't seen it, but I know I do it. And it's normally when I'm too much is going on and I can't process it.
Yeah.
Or like I'm trying to finish a task and someone's trying to get me to do something else. I'm like, boy, just let me finish this, right? She said to me the other day, I haven't seen poison face in 6 months. And I'm like, wow. For my partner to acknowledge that I'm a different human, that means so much to me, because that's like the ripple effect on that is like my friends would feel that, my family would feel that, my kids would feel that. And this is just from work I'm putting in myself. So I forgot where I was going. So I've overcome that, the ego thing. I know that our business wouldn't be where it was without me. I know that. And if I have to tell myself that, so be it. That's the truth. Some people closest, like her parents have told me that. My parents obviously tell me that. She's told me that. We're very yin and yang. We complement each other's weaknesses too. She's like, my wife's incredibly, she's just like, she backs herself like no one else. She has an idea and she's like, I'm doing it. And I admire that of her, because I'm a bit more like, have you thought of this? Like, what about the risks, this, that? She's like, nah, I'm going. And if she didn't do that, we wouldn't be there 100%. Like 100%. We had 20 grand saved when she kicked this thing off. And I was like, okay, but if we get below 10, like, you got to find a job. And she's like, we won't. Like,
Yeah.
She's incredible. And she's so under the radar too. I'll pay credit to her. She, even though she is in front of the limelight, the amount of opportunities she's had to be on newspapers, win the Entrepreneur of the Year, Women's Day thing, like, she says no. She doesn't, she just flies under the radar. She's incredible. And then me, I'm like, I feel guilty because part of me was like, hey, over here, like, I did a lot too. But like, why am I doing that? Why do I need to scratch my own ego? So it's a good point you make. And I really liked what you said about the spiritual house, the spiritual leader of the house, because I feel she might say it differently. I feel like she'd agree with me. I am. When times get stressful or tough, people come to me and my family. Yeah.
I think too, mate, like you say, at the end of the day, you got to look at, like I said, like, you guys are a partnership. You're not fighting against each other or trying to outdo one or the other. It's like, well, I earn more than you and you're not doing enough. It's like, you work together as a team. And so that means that she does and you back her to continually do what she does and you are off doing something else. Despite, the lack of recognition publicly that you might have wanted once upon a time, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, if you guys as a husband and wife with your kids and everything in life is good, all that other stuff is, like you said, it is just a stroke an ego, to make you feel. But then I even mentioned this when we had coffee. I was like, is there an underlying issue, for you to feel that way? And without answering it for you, like, I know that we've already answered it already, and it's the lack of purpose. And, for me, the journal is purpose led, and so you found that you've understood what worked for you, and you're like, well, how can I then give that to someone else and
Yeah.
give an opportunity to other people to feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly why I do what I do. The reason I love going out and sharing my story and talking to people about my life and what I've went through is to give other people the opportunity to know that they too can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes, especially with my faith. It's like sometimes I'll sit down and talk with people and I'll walk away and I'm like, he just needs Jesus.
Yeah.
But no one ever said that to me because
Yeah.
they knew that that's not how we receive it well. Like, we need to do our own inner work to get to that point. And I know a few things I'm building in the background. It's like I used to think of where did I get to get to that point where I could be open and see the world different to come to Jesus. And I always call it the groundwork. I had to do so many things to get to that point first. I couldn't just push all that stuff aside and just go straight to the end goal. I had to work through some of this stuff, which, again, a lot of the journaling and the writing down, there's power in it, mate. Like, I know for myself, I can be better at it, but I know for me to help retain information, actually have things sink in for me, writing it down. Sometimes you don't actually go back and read it again. It's actually just the power of putting it to the paper. It's almost like it just concretes that thought and feeling at that time.
Yeah.
And at worst, all it does is get it from your mind onto the paper. So you're transferring what sometimes can feel like clutter in your mind to be like, I said to my wife the other day, literally said this the other day. She messaged me and just said, I feel so overwhelmed. I've got so many thoughts. I'm like, write them down. And she's like, well, write them down. They're still going to be the same thing. I was like, yeah, but you're going to get them from your head to the bit of paper. And then she literally was saying negative things about how she was feeling about herself. She goes, it's still going to be right what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, and sure enough, she wrote all this stuff down. She did 3 or 4 pages of writing stuff. She was obviously spent some time in worship and praying as well. Felt incredible. She messaged me and she's like, thank you so much. But it's straight away, you kind of don't think, well, how's there power in that? I'm literally just going to transfer what I'm thinking to a bit of paper. And if you're talking negative towards yourself, you still believe, even though it's on paper, it's still true. But there's still power in actually getting it off. And I think that application for my wife the other day was a true example to be like, it works.
Yeah. I think put it this way. When I was at my lowest, compared to now, where I would say I'm like my happiest I've been in as long as I can remember, nothing in my world has changed except for the way I spoke to myself in my brain. And that shift has come from gratitude, from appreciating what I have. That's the only thing that's changed. Money is the same. Property, the same. My family, the same. People treating me the same. The only difference between the saddest version of me that's ever lived to the happiest version of me that's ever lived is what I'm being talking up here to myself. And that's a shift because of journaling, because of practicing daily what I'm grateful for. And it's made because you spoke before about like material stuff being like a fleeting, say dopamine, like a fleeting dopamine hit. Like, I've got my house or got a new car. That stuff goes away. Like Chris Williams talks about those unteachable lessons. It's like people think they want to get to the top of the mountain. They realize once you're there, like it's not all it's cracked up to be. But no one will listen to you until they experience it themselves. And then there's nothing wrong with like trying to, I also like, I know a couple of friends of mine have said like, oh, it's easy for you to say, like you've got there. It's easy for you to say that now, or like, to write down. I don't have time to do that or whatever, but I know for a fact that like when my problems became too overwhelming from doing the things that I wish for, I wish to have a successful business. I wish to be busy. I wish to have 30 staff. I wish to have corporate properties that our business like owns that I can manage and run. When that stuff happened, like I was sad. Like I got sad because I was like too overwhelmed. I didn't have the skill set to deal with it. Yeah, it's cool taking the pictures and like we did it, or like look at this. Our payroll's like higher because we have so much staff for the business that we like dreamt of. But then it's like, if you don't actually stop and appreciate that, that could easily turn into like, oh, our outgoings are so much, or oh, we've got too many stuff to manage, and or like if you spin everything in negative, your life becomes negative. It's not rocket science. If you start if you start just having appreciation for what you have, they can't coexist. Unhappiness and appreciation can't live in the same space. So by me practicing it every day, I'm just slowly pushing out any negativity, and what the big thing I've noticed is just the resilience now. So my wife's doing a better half journal, but she's not as consistent as me. She started before me, on this particular book. I'm on page 70, so I'm a 70-day streak. I think she's on like 37 or something. So she's been a bit sporadic.
Pick it up, Carla.
Yeah, but she, I can tell she's not as resilient to me when bad things happen. If something chaotic happens or doesn't go to plan, it'll like she'll fester and like can stress or like start catastrophizing. I'll be like, it's not that big a deal. We'll just do this. I just handle. Oh, let's hang on. Let's slow down. Take a moment. Let's just do this, or it's just this. Think about it this way. So, oh yeah, thanks, babe. It's like I've become way more resilient, and the stuff that I would carry for weeks, months, I'm letting them go. Stuff that would take me away from my kids. The biggest thing that's taking me away from my kids right now is social media. Because I'm a one-man band, I'm trying to do like the marketing for this stuff. Man, I'm hating, like my screen time's gone up a bit, but that's taking away. I've already I know I'm getting strategies in place to give that back to me, because I know my purpose is to be a good dad. Like when I die, I want to leave this world, my kids saying, we couldn't have asked for a better dad. So like, I'm not going to ruin that, you know?
Mate, on that too, like I've spoke, before I had AJ on last week and talking about the balance of being a dad and a father, and he talked to it, and he said a dad goes out and works ridiculous hours and does all that, but a father's actually present at home and actually, and his girls said to him the same thing. He's like, I go out and do this so we can have what we have and this, and the girls mentioned to him like, we're happy, like we've got a beautiful home, we've got this, we've got that, we just pretty much want you, and when he realized that, he's kind of like, and we've had many conversations about this, but it's just like, it's so true. And he's grateful that he's in a position similar to yourself, where it's just like, well, financially runs a successful business, but it allows him to do what he does with his family, to have that time and appreciate that. And it still comes with its stresses, as you know, but I think it's important to see that the main priority is your family. And a lot of successful people have that back to front. And if you ask the children, they would rather you at home and go a little without than have all the nice, big, flashy things. Because I spoke about absent fathers a lot of the time, and that's not when they don't have a father at home. There's a lot of fathers that live at home, but they're never present. I was guilty of that when I was playing footy. I just assumed that my wife's role was to be the mother and the wife and look after the household while I did what I got to do. I thought that gave me the right to go and do what I did because of the money I earned and everything that I did, while they could just do their thing. It's so wrong, but I acknowledge that. And even though I get it wrong a lot of the time, I know that that's my main priority, and everything else, comes after that.
Yeah.
But,
it's interesting talking about like, gender stereotypes, and I remember having this thought when I was like feeling low, like my self-worth was low. I was like, this is probably how these women who get a career, they study hard, 4 or 5 years, work hard, whatever, and then they might be in their career for 3 or 4 years and fall pregnant, and then they end up being a mum for the next 18 years and try re-enter the workforce, how like foreign that would feel, and how like they go through this loss of identity. And I'm like, how wrong to objectify women or expect women to like still play that role, you know, or for men to think like, this is my place, that's yours. Cause like, yeah, it was an awful feeling. Like what, like, I think in a perfect world, we are like, everyone's just working together. That should be the goal, right? The partners, the head of the house, we're unified. We're just going forward together.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think too, like with that, you want your kids to see that
Yeah.
too. Like,
100%.
you know, like I know, again, put my hand up, I'm really guilty of not leading the way at times with that. But the way we model our actions at home to our children is, you know, that's how they're going to see what mum and dad look like. And then that's what a marriage looks like. You spoke earlier about sometimes, you know, fighting in front of the kids or having a, you know, I think it's healthy for them to still see that conflict's okay, but if it has a resolution, and for a long time, I never found the resolution part where the kids would be so probably scared and worried because they'd hear me blow up or whatnot and argue with my wife, but then not actually get down on their level and go, you know, what mum and dad were just talking about had nothing to do with you guys, but actually without giving them every inch of the conversation to kind of give them an understanding that it's okay to argue and have a disagreement, but you got to come to the, you know, resolution and love each other, give them a hug. And I'm still getting better at that. I used to be like, let's not argue in front of the kids at all. But I don't think that's healthy either because they're human. They've still got to see the part of the resolution where it's like, okay, so we can do that. But we've got to make sure that we make up and we love each other and do it from a loving point of view, not from a, I hate you and I'm this and that and hold, you know, resentment and bitterness towards that. So I think that's, you know, super underestimated, I think, for a lot of people because, you know, I think it's key for the kids to see that demonstrated, but even the joyful parts of your life too. Like, I think I've seen the video you put up with your son, you know, with the journal, and that's so beautiful, mate. Like, but all these little things, like the kids remember those nice like moments, the ones that didn't cost money, or the you know they'll remember the time at the theme parks and doing this, but the little moments where they're sitting with you like that video, like talking about, you know, what they're grateful for and their feelings and that, they're the special ones, mate.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that in my day and age, like I didn't have as a kid, and it's a generational thing that we never even spoke about our emotions or feelings. So it's beautiful, mate, to see you actually model that to your kids.
Getting like, I get teary-eyed just thinking about it, eh? Like my connection with my son is super special. And you touched on like what they'll remember. Like I think back of all my good memories with my dad, they were the most simple things, like him taking a little bit of time out because he was a sign writer at home. You'd like, you know, nag him to play, and if he spared me 10 minutes to come out and shoot hoops with me, and like that's the stuff I hung on to. Him, like he'd be mowing the lawn, I'd be in the long grass pretending like cowboys and Indians to him, and him like, you know, shooting back at me or whatever. Like those little, that's what I remember. And I'm trying to create as many of those moments with my son as possible. And so just to touch on the with the Better Half Journal, you can buy a cream or a green one, but it's a buy one, give one thing. So when you buy one, you get to give a tan copy. So they're the ones you can buy. That's the donated copy. So when I got my first sample of the tan one, I actually gave it to my son and I said, hey mate, like this was daddy's been creating. And the tan one goes to someone really special. And I gave it to him and he was so touched by it, and he does it all the time. And one of his first entries, like I probably shouldn't, but I look at what he writes, and just because they're the sweetest things ever. But in one of his entries, he said that he's grateful for a body that works, and he's 7 years old. And I was just like, how insightful for this little boy to realize, like, not everyone's body works. Like, I get to wake up, sit up, use my legs. I can go down the stairs by myself. Like, man, yeah. I love the little man he's turned into. He's a legend.
You got me, mate.
Sorry.
It's no, that's beautiful, mate. I think, you know, and I think it hits home for me because I'm, you know, always look back to, you know, a little boy that I was that would have dreamed for that.
Yeah.
You know, again, that's why I do what I do, mate, because I want an understanding to know that all these things are just so special, and kids that have been in that position like myself to go, that's all I ever wanted, and so to see you dealing with that with your sons, it's really special, mate, and on here for it, mate, because it's like, it's a great example for other people to see. Just small little gestures can go such a long way.
Yeah.
But even his little heart, mate, to say things like that,
Mm.
to be able to articulate and say those kind of things at such a young age is, it's incredible, mate.
I
Like,
went for my run on Sunday, and I normally do it before they wake up, but I didn't that day. And he's like, have you not done your run yet? I'm like, nah. He's like, can I come? I was like, oh, mate, do you reckon you could do? Because I run 3.5 Ks to the chin-up bar, do a sesh, and then I run back. So it ends up being like 7 Ks. But I'm like, if he comes, like, if he can get there, we'll walk back. And he's like, yeah, I can do it. Anyway, we do it like incredibly slow pace, but we get there. He does the chin-ups with me, he does the push-ups, and we have like the deepest conversation on the way home. Like, oh, I won't go into it, but like he was saying this stuff that I'm like, you got no phones, no devices around. This is one-on-one time with my son. And we get home, we both journal at the same time, and we go for a swim. And in the pool, he says to me, Dad, this has been the best part of my week. Like, it's like 40 minutes of his week, but that's what's going to stick. Like, in my heart, just like over flooded with like, this is what life is. This is what my purpose is. I'm just the type of person who just, I live for those moments. I live for them. And that's why I like the buy one, give one. Like, I want these things to get in as many people's hands as possible that could need them, might need them. Everyone knows someone who's going through something. Everyone knows someone who has heaps of potential, but maybe keeps getting in their own way. Even someone who's super focused, or overwhelmed, right? They're like, they are successful already, but they just need to maybe slow down and be present. This is like, it's not just pigeonhole for people with mental health. It is such a good process for everyone, just to ground yourself, find out what's important, find out what you want to do. Like, I've massively benefited from it. I'm already getting feedback from people. It's only been 3 weeks since launching. People giving me feedback. I'm yet to get a message back from anyone who's been donated one, and I can't wait for that day to be like, hey, like, this was given to me at a Live and Well speech at school, and it changed my life. Or someone from Friends with Dignity who's like just got out of jail, and they've been given these. They work with
yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Run us through that, mate. Run us through. So, obviously, the process you've kind of touched on it, but the buy one, you get to donate. You've obviously got charities and that lined up.
So there's 3 ways to check out. Basically, you can buy one, and the first option is you can receive both. So the coloured one and the tan one. Maybe you want to give one to your wife. So you get both sent to you. The other option is maybe you have someone, their address. You can actually select that option, put their address in, and I'll send one to you, one to them. The third option is to give to a charity. So we've got 4 charities on board. We've got Livin', who deal with mental health, Bravehearts, who deal with sexual abuse, child sexual abuse survivors, Friends with Dignity, they do people who've escaped like a domestic violent relationship, and they also work with females who have just come out of prison, because it's supposed to be like not rehabilitation, what do they call it? Like a correction facility, but there's not a lot of correction going on in there. So that often they come out with like, haven't been upskilled, they don't have any resources. So this charity looks after them, and they provide them with a unit with fridges, beds, dishwashers, whatever, and they're going to put these journals on their bedside table for them to like work through. And then the last one is Baby Give Back, who work with families. They create hampers for people in hospitals who maybe someone's fallen pregnant, and they've got no resources, so they load them up with like nipple shields, nappies, swaddles, whatever, and they give. Because when you become a parent, like, sometimes people who struggle to look after themselves become parents, and now they've got someone else they've got to look after as well. It's such a massive adjustment. So if you can get yourself right to be the best version for your child, I think that's really important. So these are charities that mean a lot to me from working in child safety, because a lot of the cases I went out with that had underlining mental health issues, a history of domestic violence. A lot of them, it was uncanny how often the parents who were involved in those situations were sexually abused as kids. And then obviously becoming a parent is a massive adjustment. So they're the first 4 I started with. I have other offers to be part of, but I didn't want to spread myself too thin, because I'm like, what if I don't get enough donations? Maybe they only get 2 a month or whatever. I'm pretty excited with one of the things that kicked off was the leadership bundle that I put on there. I put it on there as an option. I didn't think it would sell, but it's been selling. So a lot of corporates are buying these, and I had the option that they could receive them all, but I've just changed it. So the corporates have to pick a charity, and it comes with a belly band, which is ours, but corporates will be able to put their logo and their own messaging on there. So it's like a gift. Maybe you're doing onboarding, or maybe you're doing a big team day. You can say hey, we've bought you these. We're investing in not only your professional development, but your personal growth. And the company on your behalf has donated 20 to Living. How good? Because a lot of people love giving, but they're not they don't have the capacity or time. Maybe they don't have the money. There'd be thousands and thousands of people that would love to donate to something. I'd love to give them $20 right now, but I need that. And that's understandable. But so what if the company you work for does it for you? Or, I just think it's powerful, man. And I think that's the fastest way I'll get as many in the charity's hands as possible.
Right, I think it's the best part, actually, and you've said it all. But when I opened mine, because you gave me one, and I just thought when you said the color, what color do you want? And you give me the tan one. And when I opened it and actually, read out the little poem you've got here, it was incredible, mate. Because I'm like, it's powerful that brown one has a deeper meaning to it, and I think it's beautiful to be on the receiving end of that for someone that might be in a bad way, or again, they don't have to be going through heartache to receive it. But I think it's just when anyone gets given something, it's nice. I'm a giver rather than a receiver. I feel more comfortable giving something to someone than actually receiving things. That's why when I read, the little card,
you gonna read it for us?
I'll read it. It says, "This is our tan edition, the one you cannot buy. It's the copy you choose to pass on, and here's the simple why. It's different from the cream and green. This one's a thoughtful gift. It arrives in someone else's hands, giving their mindset a gentle lift. They might be a family member or a friend you simply cheer. They might be someone you never met, who needed it this year. A colleague stepping up, a teammate rising in their role, a leader shaping their path, or anyone striving toward a goal. This is the Better Half Journal, the journal that gives twice. Your choice to pay it forward becomes a simple, powerful act of nice. The tan carries a quiet message wrapped in an earthy tone, a steady reminder of progress, and no one walks alone. And when they finish the tan, perhaps I'll choose a green or cream. That's the ripple we're creating. That's the Better Half Journal dream." Yeah, good.
No one's ever read me back that.
But it was nice, mate. I read it, and I literally sat in my top drawer at home. I think everyone's got a top drawer, but our top drawer at home's got everything you could think of in it. And I slid it down the front, so I knew where it always was. But I grabbed it this morning, and it was really nice. And obviously, for someone to read that back, knowing, because obviously some people are going to get this and not expect it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really, again, the deeper meaning towards, what you're doing, mate, I love. And to read that out aloud and, to know the heart behind the giving part of it. It's not all about us, and it's what we can do for someone else. And I'm really grateful for you to come on, mate, to share this. I love what you're doing. I love you being open and honest about your own story and journey. And,
of course,
going to be a big supporter of it, mate, and anything I can ever do for you. And I'll be more than happy to help, mate. But Have you got anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, mate, that's it. I think it's just if you listen to this and this resonates, like honestly, buy one. Or tell, at least just spread the news. If you know anyone in corporate, maybe just tell them, like that poem you just read out, there's a different one in the Cream and Greens. It's about like participating in the movement and like, you know, backing it.
Where can they find you, mate?
So just our website is www.betterhalfjournal.com. Instagram handles Better Half Journal. We are on TikTok, but I'm pretty slow on that. I find that TikTok's like not the most positive space.
Yeah.
So for something like this, I think Instagram's more the way to go. But yeah, and then if you want to reach out to me, Josh at betterhalfjournal.com.
Awesome, mate. Well, thanks again for your time, mate.
Thanks for having me.
It's
been a pleasure
to seeing the success that comes from it, mate, and continually support your journey and
likewise.
Give love to the family.
We'll do, you too.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rise Above podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and be part of these real conversations. A big thank you to Active Coolangatta for proudly sponsoring this podcast. Your support means a lot. You can catch every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.